right, we got a real late start today. It is already 1:30. So I got a lot of the sharp edges cut out of the way. I'll go back with the grinder, clean them up. And I'll probably use some sort of like epoxy or filler or something to clean it up, make it look a little bit nicer, but at least right now it's all out of the way. And there was a couple people that were like, hey man, don't you think that might have been structural? Yeah, I do think that that was part of the structure. But if you didn't see the last video, TLDR, I cut a bunch of stuff out of the car, including this rear tray. There was a couple people that were a little worried, like, hey, don't you think that might have been structural? Yeah, I do think that there was some structure there. And yes, I do plan on putting a brace back in the car. Anyway, today, I think that we can actually set the engine. I'll bolt the flex plate back up to it, and then set the engine back on the cradle. Well, I'll probably move the cradle over here first, set the engine back on the cradle, and actually lower the car onto it to see how everything fits. Before we do that though, something I want to do is thin out this wiring harness a little bit. I think realistically the only stuff to the engine I'm actually going to keep are the alternator wiring and the wire to the starter solenoid. I think everything else I can get rid of. So I'm going to thin that out a little bit because I'm going to be using a Holley Terminator X on this. It's a complete standalone system. So the wiring to the engine and everything, 99% of that isn't needed. Like I said, the alternator wiring will just make things a lot easier, and the starter solenoid, that way it still starts off the key, and any other like sensor wires if I want to run it on the factory dash, which I'll probably have that 3.5-inch Holley touchscreen pad there for a lot of it. And because we're going to be using the stock transmission, oh yeah, this has a speed sensor, doesn't it? I'd imagine. So I need to find, it might be this one actually. I need to find that plug and make sure I save that one too so that the speedometer works. But aside from that, most of the wiring can go. So I need to move all this scrap out of the way. I think for now, I'm just so that I can have time to double check the wiring and look up schematics and stuff and probably make a phone call or two. I might just leave the wiring alone. Just tuck it back up in the battery tray and leave it alone for now. But if you guys are anything like me, you're incredibly anxious to see the LS actually in the rear of the car. So I'm gonna get to work, turn the camera off, and we'll turn it back on when things start to get exciting. Alright, so what I could do is make a little plumb bob to hang straight down from there. But I think what I might do instead, because I don't have any string or anything that'll hang perfectly straight down, I might be able to use this ratchet strap to get me real close to lined up. Alright, so it needs to go back a bit. That'll get us real close to where we need to be. It's going to come up a little bit more because the subframe's not bolted in. This is just where we're hitting the shock towers right now. So I got to do this weird kind of Jenga thing to lift the subframe up and let the wheels hang down further so that I can, you know, it's a whole thing. It's a whole ordeal. But yeah, you can see just how much room there's going to be in this thing. It's going to be sick. I cannot wait. This is awesome. So I think what I might do now, because to be honest, I'm not really sure how to safely go about jacking up the subframe with only one floor jack. I might be able to use the cherry picker and the chain to lift this side up while jacking the front of it up. For now, I think I'm just going to enjoy the fruits of my labors, and I'll pull the lift plate off, set the intake on it, and just kind of stand back and admire it. But yeah, everybody who thought that there was never going to be enough room to fit an LS in this thing, you can see there's actually quite a bit of room. And the front of the engine needs to come back a little bit, and this needs to, like, the whole thing needs to like rotate like this. So there is going to be a little bit more room up in that corner, but everything else looks like it's going to be sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. So yeah, I'm going to pull the lift plate off real quick, set the intake on it, and maybe play around with the turbo, see what we can do. All right, I got it mocked up so we can get a real rough idea of what this Frankenstein's going to look like. It's not exactly where I want it to sit, but I mean, you can get an idea on things. Again, the engine's going to be up a few more inches, like 3-4 inches. So it'll fill the engine bay and look a lot nicer. I think this is going to be sweet, man. This is about the height that I want the turbo, but I think I want it more right in here. I think it's going to look awesome, dude. Oh, one more thing I want to try real quick. All right, there we go. Now we can visualize it a little bit better. Yeah, man, there's still a few things to kind of figure out. Like I said in the last video, I'm probably just going to get an LS4 King oil pan, just save up and remortgage the house for that. So, yeah, it's exciting, man. I think we're quickly approaching the point where we've got to start just ordering parts for it if we want to get it together. So here's kind of what I'm hoping to make work is center the turbo a little bit more, maybe offset it a little bit because there's obviously going to be the pipes. Again, visually, I think it'll just look nicer. And then I want to run the dump down and then Y it off so that it comes out each side, because there are the 2 openings for exhaust tips. And I think that'll just look a lot nicer. But I do think that that's about all we can do for today's video. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing and clicking that bell. I'll see you next time.